living in a tokenized world, transforming assets, shares, real estate, resources into tokens, and getting ready for Web 3.0.
Okay, so that's a pretty big topic. So we've got quite a few panelists for this topic. So we've got Edwin Matamavaro, CEO and founder of Bricken, and he'll be moderating the panel. We've got David Orban, managing advisor at Beyond Enterprises. Dr. Yana Leonova, Deputy General Manager at the Private Office of Sheikh Saqer bin Mohamed and group of companies. Vasilisa Marinchuk, founding member of CBCAT. And Kevin Murcko, founder and CEO of CoinMetro. And they're going to be talking about everything we need to get ready for Web3. Take it away, guys.
All right, well, thank you very much for being here. My name is Edwin Mata. I'm the CEO and co-founder. I'll be modding this tokenization table with some great speakers. So I will allow everybody to introduce and also take the opportunity to understand how tokenization is affecting their world and actually what is their perspective as to what is tokenization. So please, David, let's start with you. Go ahead.
At Beyond Enterprises, we are a globally distributed firm. Our advisory services benefit projects of different kinds. Tokenization is going to unlock tremendous value at businesses who today feel that they are less capable as they would desire of measuring, monetizing, securitizing, and really making liquid their assets. And these are not only traditional assets, but also intangible assets like patents, copyrights, trade secrets, that will become liquid through tokenization.
I love that word, liquidity, how some liquid assets can be brought and become liquid. Vasily, please.
Thank you, Edwin. My name is Vasilisa, and I'm a founding member of the Central Blockchain of Catalonia, and as well as I'm a managing director of Democracy for All conference, which is run annually in Barcelona. Talking about tokenization, what it's for me and what I see it's most important, it's driving adoption of the blockchain technology among those who are not yet, let's say, familiar with that. And as well as said by David, it is bringing liquidity, but beyond that, it's also giving the opportunity for people who never had access to certain markets to actually have this on a very small scale without having big capitals in their pockets. So that's what it's for me.
So I guess we're already making the picture that tokenization is liquidity and adoption. That's quite interesting what we're painting here. So Jana, please.
Hello, everybody. My name is Yana Leonova. Last 4 years I live in Dubai, and currently I work for the private office of Sheikh Saqer Al Qasimi, and I'm leading innovation and technology companies that are coming to this market and would like to grow in the Middle East. But before that, I lived in London for 8 years, and I did a blockchain strategy course in Oxford in 2016, and then we set up a London Blockchain Foundation, 50 members of that course, and since that time we were rather active in bringing awareness and discussing and promoting blockchain as a concept. And I'm a strong believer in security token concept, and I support this. And I see the positive movement. It still need a long way to go, but I see the tendency what I really like, and that's my favorite subject in tokenization.
Perfect. And we have a new word to add here, growth. So, and Kevin, please.
Thank you, Edwin. My name is Kevin Murcko. I'm CEO and founder of a company called CoinMetro based in Estonia. I'm also the co-founder of a company called Ignium, which actually does tokenization for equity and debt. So I think tokenization, we already mentioned access, we mentioned liquidity. I think the other thing that it does is monetization. So when you look at companies, whether they're Fortune 500, small companies, whatever size they may be, SMEs, there are many pieces of business that can't be monetized easily, and tokenization allows for, because of access, because of liquidity, allows companies to access money that they otherwise wouldn't be able to unlock from their client bases, essentially.
Perfect. So I guess from that beginning, we can already introduce what is the second question, and it's okay. So tokenization can serve as a funding mechanism. It's an investment vehicle. It's adoption. How is it going to affect like new business models? Can we think about NFTs being securities? Can securities even enter the metaverse? Like, what is your general outcome? Please now feel free to just jump in.
The advertising-based business models have been tremendously successful for the past 20 years. Many people, as a matter of fact, believe that they have been excessively successful, leading to a centralization and choke points of innovation. So the tokenization of assets, as it supports the emerging of new business models that are more decentralized and introduce a new wave of innovation, are extremely attractive and desirable to businesses and startups because they can innovate at the edges and hopefully outrun the incumbents. To investors, because value creation in these new business models promise to unlock tens of trillions of value that is new to the digital market, and it is not dominated by existing players.
Lovely explanation.
Well, I would add here just because there are certain models which were already in place. If we look into gaming, as soon as we're on the gaming stage, right, where artifacts by itself can be represented by tokens or NFTs because they're unique. So this is just a more efficient way and more secure way using the blockchain behind these tokens to work with the same already existing assets sometimes. Or if again, we've been talking about liquidity, we've been talking about access. So when we talk about real estate, which is a very big market for this, it's still taking off very, very slow. And Spain, one of the examples where there were a couple of buildings in the last years tokenized, it's still not a perfect way as we would wish it to happen, but it's first steps. So let's say, give an example. So in 2021, the Real IT tokenized the building, a small one, 65K only, and they collected money from 120 investors in Ethereum. But funny enough, now that they distributing the rent to these holders, they distribute it in fiat, in euros, because it's easier with the current laws. And with this, I will actually pass to the lawyers, probably to talk more.
Well, I'm not a lawyer, but I play one on panels all over the world, so I'll give you my take on that one. So yeah, I think, look, many things I'm a finance guy, so many things in finance, especially when they're nuanced, are gimmicky. So ICOs at the beginning were very gimmicky. Everybody needed a token for something that they really didn't need a token for. STOs at the beginning were very gimmicky. You'd create an SPV, which is just a structure that you'd sell some underlying asset. You tokenize an SPV. You're not really tokenizing the asset. In the case of real estate, that's usually what happens. So all these things start very gimmicky, but at some point they become less gimmicky and become more mainstream and more fundamental to our underlying systems. You can even say NFTs to a certain extent right now are very gimmicky. Somebody pays $6 million for a squiggle line of a JPEG. The real thing about non-fungibles and what we could possibly think of with tokenization, if you talk about DAOs or you talk about a structure instead of being a business, an NFT, because it's non-fungible, can actually be the SPV that can be tokenized. We just have this ape coin. You can almost think of ape coin as a securitization or tokenization of a non-fungible or an NFT. So I think we're going down the rabbit hole, but we're not quite there yet.
Yeah.
So for me, tokenization is like to democratize the access to funds, to liquidity. It's, for me, very natural and smart move because the world is going digital. So why not to digitalize assets? Why not to raise funds digitally? We are all moving into these directions, and all these traditional institutions, they just are not, in the same pace to follow. So in my opinion, tokenization and digitalization is happening actually from the ground. So it's not something what is going from the governmental level going down. It's actually things that are happening here. We are going into the space. Look, even in Dubai, look at the community here. Even if on the governmental federal level there are still not really advanced legislation about this, but people on the ground, everybody is involved, more or less.
Yes.
So that's rather interesting phenomenon when things are moving from down, up, and just bringing changes and disruptions to all these traditional institutions. So tokenizations give a possibility for simpler people, not the professional investors, people who have less money, people who don't have possibilities to contact your broker in New York and somewhere else to buy some stock. You actually can do it online. You can sit in Africa, you can sit in another emerging market, you can do your due diligence, like you check the stock, you check the company, and you invest, even the smaller money you have. The same is about companies that want to raise funds. Instead of paying a lot of money and doing IPO with the huge companies that will take a long time and a lot of money from $1 million up, you can just follow, for example, Swiss or Liechtenstein law or law of BVI, law of Delaware, with much less money. You can just tokenize your asset or stream your income that you, for example, receive from renting real estate and just put it on the market via STO exchanges. And you also have access to small investors. You have a quantity, maybe less quality in terms of big ticket, but you have a quantity of small investors that you can fill the gap.
I mean, it's clear that it's a way for retail to jump in different kind of class assets, opportunities, but also reducing barriers for companies to obtain funding. So if we're looking at the pros, that this is an enabler, not just for blockchain itself, but for companies off-chain moving into on-chain, where do you see the pains? Like what are the pains that we have to overcome for this to actually become a reality and not just like one of those verticals that stays hidden, because tokenization is brutal.
I am working with a team in India that aims to bring blockchain, crypto, and tokenization to the broadest possible inclusive level. Their name is Cheetah X, and they are targeting a 1.3 billion person market. Now, the challenges that you mentioned are not only legal, not only technological, sometimes they are pretty elementary. How easy it is to onboard using an app. How easy it is to adopt a DeFi solution. Or even something more trivial, in India, 800 million people don't speak neither English nor Hindi, and all the unicorns that are present in India have their app only in English. So what Cheetax is now aiming to do is to release their app in 7 local languages to target hundreds of millions of people that have been completely neglected by the crypto community until now. So the challenges sometimes are closer to us than we would even imagine, and they are less exotic. They just require a keen eye and an understanding of the needs of the users.
Perfectly.
Well, I think that it's go a lot to legislation and regulation, which has to be very well balanced, because over-regulating, we're just simply killing the idea of tokenization and decentralization. We're literally giving everything which we created in this blockchain ecosystem to the old-fashioned system, because we were saying, you know what, we put such a high barriers, which these old-fashioned banks, old-fashioned companies are very familiar with, and they have all the resources in the world to do the way they like it, and we stay, alone somewhere there with all our bright ideas. So that is one thing. And on the other side, on the adoption side, literally, it's very important, and I will very much agree with David, that the consumer can touch the technology, that the consumer can go and say, you know what, I actually want to tokenize my apartment. How can I do it? Easy peasy, without being techie, without being into blockchain, without doing anything. Just Google around and say, this is the website, I should go there, I should do it. The same for everybody. Or I want to do micro investment. That's very important. The legislation should be easy, though still supportive to the micro investors, so that they can go and invest their $100 without paying then 50% tax on all that. So that's my take.
Perfect.
Yes, I agree. Regulation should be there, but not over-regulated and making things even more complex, and more scary for simple people to participate. But awareness should be there as well. But that's, I think, what all of us are doing by creating these associations and creating these communities and participating at the summits and discussing this. Of course, there is a resistance from the big corporations that already have this established system and they make their money, you know, on each and every bit of our involvement. They don't want to lose this market. Of course, there is also, I would say, the fear to take responsibility and to lead, because you need to disrupt the system. You need to offer another solution to already existing one. And if something goes wrong, you will be the one to blame. Nobody wants to be blamed. So it's like, but we are getting there. It's maturing more and more. I left London in 2018. I came here. I see so much movements in this sector. I mean, crypto, digital assets, tokenization here, as well as I see it in Europe. But I expected a lot from Estonia. I expected a lot from the United Kingdom when I left. But somehow they just got a little bit still stuck and moved slower than I expected.
Yeah, I guess no matter how innovative we all are, we don't change regulation with a token or with an NFT or with anything. So we have to lead by example. I came into, I think, professionally into crypto 2015-16, and I was the only bald guy in the room over a certain age. Everybody else had man buns and and tattoos and all this great stuff. And we've definitely, this industry has changed greatly. The problem is that at least a couple of years ago, we didn't have a lot of people that were speaking the truth. We had a lot of people that were doing PR and marketing, but they weren't speaking the truth. I think now, collectively, we speak a lot of truth. Regulation is an issue. You'll notice, though, that since 2014, the first ICO, Mastercoin, we've been leading, and regulators have actually had to play catch-up. You're now seeing regulation around the world, like MiCA in the EU. You're starting to see what Joe Biden signed the other week, this executive order in the US. You're starting to see actually, they're realizing they can't stop the systems, they can't stop a protocol, and thus they're now rapidly trying to figure out how to regulate it, which is a good thing. It might slow us down a little bit, but at the end of the day, it's going to speed us up towards our eventual goals, I think, which is access, which is making sure everybody has access. That's also a technological issue because not everybody has a cell phone, not everybody has the ability to understand how to get in and out with the current UI UX problems that crypto has. But we're all moving in the right direction towards mass adoption, which requires government, which requires tech, which requires thought leadership.
Perfect. So, I mean, it's clear, tokenization is out there. We're moving in the right direction. The rate that we would like to move should be faster. We have a lot of hurdles still to do with regulations. But hey, we're getting there. I mean, panels on tokenization are happening all over. And then that's literally the world moving into a tokenized world. And that's why we're literally living in a tokenized world. So thank you very much for this lovely panel.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, everybody.